Okay, this is from chapter 19 of the book, John McDougall, The Doctor Who Fought for You, written by me, Pete Rogers. Okay, so we just finished up last video on vegetable oils are powerful tumor promoters. Yeah, they increase your risk of cancer and they cause leaky gut. Okay, so Dr. McDougall says Chinese and Japanese women in the 1970s who ate rice, a rice-based diet, had almost zero breast cancer. Breast cancer was super rare in those countries. They also, Neil Bernard has said they didn't even have menopause symptoms other than they stopped their periods. Okay, Dr. McDougall continues. I have never seen a single case of arsenic poisoning from rice or for any other reason. People who try to satisfy hunger with vegetables will fail. They sometimes go back to eating meat. All animal foods and oils are poisons. Meat is animal muscle. Animal muscle's pretty much the same from all animals, including, fish, eggs, dairy, it's all the same stuff. Chicken. Meat is a poison. All animal foods are bad. They're all high in animal protein and animal fat, except for skim milk, and low in fiber. Foods are the most common. Okay, so basically, he's pretty clear about that. All animal foods are bad. He also says the biggest toxin in the Western diet is fat. And then he says, and also, animal foods. And basically, vegetable oil is pure fat. Okay, then he's talking about headaches now. Dr. McDougall says, foods are the most common cause of headache. Foods like milk, dairy, eggs, chocolate, corn, wheat, alcohol, tomato, and strawberry. Okay. And then Dr. McDougall was pretty good about calling out the Paleo Keto Carnivore Club. He did not think it was so funny, these guys. Because a lot of people tell me, oh, why do you make a big deal about food? Let people eat what they want, have a little variety. And I can tell you as a doctor, it's kind of sad. You see all these sad, pathetic, fat, sick, and stupid patients. And the only thing that could help them is this low-fat vegan diet. But they don't know about it. And even if you tell them, most of them don't want it and aren't willing to try it. And they just crash and burn and deteriorate, get drug, chop, and it's kind of sad and pathetic. Plus, you said, I trained all these years, I'd like to cure somebody. It gets kind of boring seeing, one after another dummy just spiraling down the drain. Okay, Dr. McDougall now speaks what he thinks about paleo keto. Dr. McDougall says, people who lie and say the keto diet is good are evil. The keto paleo diet is dangerous and dishonest. There are multiple studies that show low-carb diets are associated with an increase in cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. There are no studies that show the opposite. The people who promote paleo, keto, low-carb diets are liars. The goal of the low-carb movement is to hide the truth. Yeah, they're sponsored to trick the stupid pros into thinking all that stuff is an okay way to eat because that'll keep them fat and sick so you can take their money with drugs. Okay, Dr. McDougall continues. Writing the newsletter is the only thing that has kept me learning. It usually takes me about 1 or 2 weeks to write one, and I write it each month. Human breast milk has only 5% of calories from protein, and the most rapid phase of growth of our lives. Breast milk is ideal. It has to be, or babies would not survive. Adults are not growing like that. Adults do not need that much protein. Okay, so you see what he's saying? He's saying adults do not need 5% of calories from protein. That's a big statement, okay? Because a lot of people are going to recommend much more than that, okay? And then here's what McDougall says. He said adults probably only need about 3% of their calories from protein. That's a big statement too. Adults likely only need about 3% of their calories from protein. Pritikin would quote a study by Golden showing that starvation patients, you could feed them just 2.5% of their calories from protein and they do very well. And that's highly relevant because if you got kidney failure patients, you want to feed them as low protein a diet as possible. Very low protein diets are better than low protein diets. So a low protein diet by definition is about 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram per day. Very low protein is like half that. It's like 0.3 grams of protein per kilogram per day. So these are very low amounts of protein. You're going to start getting down around 20 grams per day, 25 grams per day with the very low protein diets. In some cases, the patient might need additional essential amino acids, supplements, or something called analogs. I'll talk about that in separate lectures. Okay, Dr. McDougall continues. Hunter-gatherers were mostly gatherers. Now here's next statement is a big important one. He says you don't need to eat a wide variety of foods. That's a big statement because There's some people like, I think the guy's name was Knight, he's a researcher, and William Bolshevitz quotes this guy saying, oh, the best thing is to eat a wide variety of plant foods. But that's actually not true. It's not necessary. Most of these primitive, blue zone-like populations, they don't necessarily eat that wide a variety of plant foods. Mcdougall would say you could eat just potatoes, just sweet potatoes, and you'd be fine. Take a B12 supplement. So don't get me wrong. You can eat, it's good to eat a few different things, but you don't need to be like searching all these different foods all the time. Okay, Dr. Mcdougall continues. Smoothies are overrated. You don't make a food healthier by hitting it with a blade 1,000 times. Kempner was able to show retinal photographs of diabetic retinopathy reversal. We can see the eyes. Something similar is happening all throughout the body. When people lose weight, they transiently get increased blood cholesterol as the cholesterol moves out of their fat cells and the fat cells shrink. Okay, here's another good line. Dairy companies say that chocolate milk is nutrition in disguise. I say it is disease in disguise. Okay, here I just want to throw in one quote from Jeff Nelson, nutrition expert who runs the YouTube channel VegSource and the website vegsource.com. He's a really smart guy. He's a graduate at Yale and Stanford. He's also really good friends. He's like one of Dr. Mcdougall's best friends. And he says, fiber is life, pharma is death. And there's a lot of truth in that. Okay, Dr. Mcdougall continues. The Western diet is food poisoning. It causes acne, constipation, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, arthritis, acne, irritable bowel syndrome, etc., infertility. Okay, Dr. Mcdougall, my food poisoning book is available on my website for free at drmcdougall.com. The main causes of food poisoning are animal foods and free oils. If something is right, it should be right however you look at it because it is true. Statins should only be given to people with high risk of heart disease and not just to anyone with elevated cholesterol numbers. And now here's a big quote from Dr. Mcdougall. The best diet for diabetics is low-fat, starch-based vegan diet with no oils. Why would anyone want to manage type 2 diabetes with pills when they could cure it with diet? Yeah, that's obvious. You can totally cure it. Why not do that? Okay, here's a quote from William Roberts, sort of the best cardiac pathologist in the world. He said, when you feed herbivores a high-fat diet, they all get atherosclerosis. Elevated blood cholesterol is the main risk factor for coronary artery disease. Yes. Here's a quote from Gregory Sloop. He's actually the best atherosclerosis researcher in the world. He is the pioneer of atherothrombosis theory, that atherosclerosis is a blood clot. Both of these guys are pathologists. And by the way, pathologists are the best atherosclerosis researchers because they look at it in a microscope and they go, it's a blood clot. And once you realize it's a blood clot, then everything that increases blood clotting increases atherosclerosis. So you now can make sense out of it. Okay, Gregory Sloop says, elevated LDL cholesterol sticks the red blood cells together. This is called overcoming the zeta potential. This increases blood viscosity, makes the blood thick. Thick blood causes hypertension and atherosclerosis. Okay, here's a picture of the Death of King Arthur by James Archer from 1860. And so it's a magnificent painting, and Dr. Mcdougall is kind of like, King Arthur of nutrition. Here's another picture, The Death of King Arthur, this one by William Bell Scott. And the reason I'm showing you these pictures is the theme of the book was sort of like you can see here on the cover is Dr. Mcdougall, getting a goodbye kiss from Mary before he goes off to do debate battle with the paleo keto carnivores and other phony nutrition types. Okay, so it's a beautiful painting by William Scott Bell, and then there's a poem that goes with that. This one by Thomas Mallory. Yet some men say in many parts of England that King Arthur is not dead, and that he shall come again, and he shall win the Holy Cross. Okay, so that's it for Chapter 19 on Dr. Mcdougall quotes. Hope that was helpful.